Hello, this is day 56 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every single day. We are on Purgatorio, Canto 22, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. Already was the angel left behind us, the angel who to the sixth round had turned us, having erased one mark from off my face. And those who have in justice their desire had said to us, Beati, in their voices, with Citio, and without more ended it. And I, more light than through the other passes, went onward so, that without any labor I followed upward the swift-footed spirits. When thus Virgilius began, the love kindled by virtue, aye another kindles, provided outwardly its flame appear. Hence from the hour that Juvenal descended among us into the infernal limbo, who made apparent to me thy affection, my kindliness towards thee was as great as ever bound one to an unseen person, so that these stairs will now seem short to me. But tell me, and forgive me as a friend, if too great confidence let loose the rein, and as a friend now hold discourse with me. How is it possible within thy breast for avarice to find place, mid so much wisdom as thou wast filled with by thy diligence? These words excited Statius at first somewhat to laughter. Afterward he answered, Each word of thine is love's dear sign to me. Verily, oftentimes do things appear which give fallacious matter to our doubts, instead of the true causes which are hidden. Thy question shows me thy belief to be that I was niggard in the other life, it may be from the circle where I was. Therefore know thou that avarice was removed too far from me, and this extravagance thousands of lunar periods have punished. And were it not that I my thoughts uplifted, when I the passage heard where thou exclaimest, as if indignant unto human nature, To what impellest thou not, O cursed hunger of gold, the appetite of mortal men? Revolving, I should feel the dismal joustings. Then I perceived the hands could spread too wide their wings in spending, and repented me as well of that as of my other sins. How many with shorn hair shall rise again because of ignorance, which from this sin cuts off repentance, living and in death? And know that the transgression which rebuts by direct opposition any sin, together with it here its verdure dries. Therefore, if I have been among that folk which mourns its avarice, to purify me, for its opposite has this befallen me. Now, when thou sangest the relentless weapons of the twofold affliction of Jocasta, the singer of songs bucolic said, From that which Clio there with thee preludes, it does not seem that yet had made thee faithful, that faith without which no good works suffice. If this be so, what candles or what sun scattered thy darkness, so that thou didst trim thy sails behind the fishermen thereafter? And he to him, Thou first directedst me towards Parnassus, in its grots to drink, and first concerning God didst me enlighten. Thou didst, as he who walketh in the night, who bears his light behind, which helps him not, but wary makes the persons after him. When thou didst say, The age renews itself, justice returns, and man's primeval time, and a new progeny descends from heaven. Through thee I poet was, through thee a Christian. But that thou better see what I design, to colour it will I extend my hand. Already was the world in every part pregnant with the true creed, disseminated by messengers of the eternal kingdom. And thy assertion, spoken of above, with the new preachers was in unison, whence I to visit them the custom took. Then they became so holy in my sight, that, when Domitian persecuted them, not without tears of mine were their laments. And all the while that I on earth remained, them I befriended, and their upright customs made me disparage all the other sects. And ere I led the Greeks unto the rivers of Thebes in poetry, I was baptized, but out of fear was covertly a Christian. For a long time professing paganism, and this lukewarmness caused me the fourth circle to circuit round more than 4 centuries. Thou, therefore, who hast raised the covering that hid from me whatever good I speak of, while in ascending we have time to spare, tell me, in what place is our friend Terentius, Caecilius, Plautus, Varro, if thou knowest, tell me if they are damned, and in what alley? These, Perseus and myself, and others many, replied my leader, with that Grecian are, whom more than all the rest the Muses suckled, in the first circle of the prison blind. Ofttimes we of the mountain hold discourse, which has our nurses ever with itself. Euripides is with us, Antiphon, Simonides, Agatho, and many other Greeks, who of old their brows with laurel decked. There some of thine own people may be seen, Antigone, Deiphyli, and Argia, and there Ismene, mournful as of old. There she is seen, who pointed out Langia, there is Tiresias' daughter, and there Thetis, and there Deidamia with her sisters. Silent already were the poets both, attent once more and looking round about, from the ascent and from the walls released. And 4 handmaidens of the day already were left behind, and at the pole the 5th was pointing upward still its burning horn. What time, my guide? I think that towards the edge, our dexter shoulders, it behoves us to turn, circling the mountain as we are wont to do. Thus in that region custom was our ensign, and we resumed our way with less suspicion, for the assenting of that worthy soul they in advance went on, and I alone behind them, and I listened to their speech, which gave me lessons in the art of song. But soon their sweet discourses interrupted a tree, which midway in the road we found, with apples sweet and grateful to the smell. And even as a fir tree tapers upward from bough to bough, so downwardly did that, I think in order that no one might climb it. On that side where our pathway was enclosed fell from the lofty rock a limpid water, and spread itself abroad upon the leaves. The poets twain unto the tree drew near, and from among the foliage a voice cried, Of this food ye shall have scarcity. Then said, More thoughtful Mary was of making the marriage feast complete and honorable than of her mouth, which now for you responds. And for their drink the ancient Roman women with water were content, and Daniel disparaged food and understanding won. The primal age was beautiful as gold, acorns it made with hunger savorous, and nectar every rivulet with thirst. Honey and locusts were the ailments that fed the Baptist in the wilderness, whence he is glorious and so magnified as by the Evangel is revealed to you. I want to begin with the conversation between Virgil and Statius at the beginning of the canto. Virgil says something wonderful, which is, love kindled by virtue always kindles love if the first flame is clearly visible. That is, love, if it is virtuous, if it keeps its right object in mind and doesn't fall into either objectifying that which is loved or into idolizing that which is loved, and furthermore, is actually aimed towards the good of the thing being loved, then it will only ever create more good, so long as that right object, that right purpose is kept in mind. That is so true. And, it's said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I think that a failure to abide by this quote of Virgil's would be the explanation for how that could happen. If somebody has really, really good intentions, but then they end up doing something terrible, well, I would suppose that maybe they lost sight of that first virtue, of that first purpose that they were not to get off from, but they did. But anyways, more to the substance of their conversation, which is the much more important part. Firstly, Virgil says, why are you here with the avaricious? Or rather, why were you here with the avaricious when we found you? I would have expected that somebody wise as you, who wrote such good poetry, who's clearly had good training in the 4 cardinal virtues, I would have expected you to not be stuck there for a while. This is just a reminder that reason is still a great way to grow in virtue. It is unreasonable to be greedy. It's unreasonable to let yourself be ruled by your appetites. That can get you out of a lot of the lower sins. Statius replies that he, in fact, went the other way. He didn't hoard gold. He was way too loose in spending it, in letting it go, in wasting it, basically. And so he was punished for that on the same terrace, which tells us that not only the certain sins that we see on each terrace are purged there, but also their opposites, if those opposites are also sins. Wealth is a tricky one, because you can go wrong in either direction. Or, if you believe Aristotle, which largely I do, every single virtue lies between two vices. And so, being a good steward of your wealth is flanked by being avaricious and being prodigal, that's spending too much. And now the most interesting part of the conversation, which is Virgil asks Statius, how did you end up a Christian? How are you here and not in limbo with me? And then we get to one of the most tragic parts of the entire Divine Comedy. Statius says, actually, it was by reading you that I discovered the faith. In Virgil's work, Bucolics, he has something called the fourth eclogue. I think there's 7, 8 of them, something like that. And the fourth one specifically has long been interpreted by, especially medieval Christians, to be a prophecy of Jesus, of the Messiah. Now, is it actually? I don't know. Did Virgil even really understand what he was writing? If it was, maybe not. But if you go and read it, it talks about a new age dawning for mankind, of a child coming from the heavens who will be given rule over the entire earth. There's even mention of a virgin. It's odd. It's very odd to not be related. Let's put it that way. And so, at this time that Dante is writing, most of the scholars believe that Virgil's writing here was in fact a prophecy of Jesus. And so Dante is kind of following that same line of thought. He's saying, well, Statius could have become a Christian by reading Virgil and then hearing something like the same message being preached by the apostles and the disciples of Jesus, who at that time were moving around the Mediterranean world spreading the news. But as they're walking here, they've made it onto the terrace of the gluttonous, which is what the rest of this canto and tomorrow's will focus on. They've come across a tree that has abundant fruit in it and has water dripping down from it, but a voice tells them as they get near, you are not worthy to have this food and water. You will not have this. Instead, fast. And it cites several examples of how fasting and temperance can lead to great virtues. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow, because that's where it gets really in depth. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.